Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Priscilla Liebert-Calder. I am the event coordinator for the NJSBDC at Rutgers-Newark, and on behalf of Dr. Tendai Ndoro, the regional director, I would like to welcome you to our webinar called E-Commerce Platforms 101. The New Jersey Business Development Centers at Rutgers-Newark is the primary provider of business training and technical assistance services to establish small businesses, startups, and entrepreneurs in New Jersey, and in particularly to those in Essex County. The NJSBDC at Rutgers-Newark is one of 12 centers in the NJSBDC network. Our center is hosted by Rutgers Business School and funded through a public and private partnership agreement between the SBA, Rutgers University, and the New Jersey Business Action Center. Our mission is to help entrepreneurs and business owners start and grow sustainable, successful businesses through the delivery of one-on-one business consulting, training, and technical assistance services and programs. For the benefit of those attending today's webinar, audio has been muted for participants, and we'll be taking questions via the chat and the Q&A feature here on Zoom. Please feel free to post your questions, and we'll do our best to respond either during or at the end of the presentation. A copy of today's presentation slide, along with the video replay of this webinar, will be emailed out within 48 to 72 hours at the end of the presentation. Okay. It is my pleasure to introduce to you our presenter for today, Ahmet Agdag. He is our he's our current SBDC consultant for those who are interested in getting into e-commerce, retail. And he's also owner and founder of Strymont Consulting. And so he's going to take his time right now and go through some of the platforms that are more popular platforms that are available for those that are getting into the e-commerce business. He also presents 3 of our other webinars on e-commerce. So if you haven't already participated in those, feel free to send us an email. I think it's either 3 or 2 now that has gone. I think this one is starting the cycle again. So this is our, I would say, the foundation of all the e-commerce webinars. And then we steadily build from those. So we definitely want to let you know that there are others available in the series, and that, you know, to take the time out to review them as we post them on YouTube. So I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. I'll turn this over to Ahmet.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're all having a start to a good weekend. Let me just get the presentation pulled up here. Okay. All right, so basically, like Priscilla mentioned, this is going to be, you know, one-on-one for e-commerce. This is a foundation. This will pretty much go over what you need to know about the different marketplaces and how they operate, and, you know, get an understanding so you can use that information to determine where you want to start with, or how you want to plan on setting up, or if you're an existing business, how you want to approach, you know, becoming an e-commerce retailer or seller or even supplier in the future. So this will pretty much cover that. There'll also be aspects about self-hosting, where you run your own website for e-commerce. So to get started, the first, okay, there we go. All right, so The first topic obviously is what is e-commerce. Electronic commerce essentially means goods and services offered through the internet. It can be B2B, B2C. There is also a D2C, which isn't always common, but it's essentially if you're a distributor, manufacturer sometimes too. You sell directly to customers. The most common ones are business to business or business to consumer, and business to consumer is the predominant one, since you're usually selling to the individual customers on these marketplaces. Obviously, the most popular examples are here is Amazon, Home Depot, Walmart. Um, this common requirements section is a sort of general requirements. Obviously, each marketplace, each retailer, if you're doing self-hosting, it's a different rules too. These tend to be the generally required information or generally required things you need to have to really make your business grow on e-commerce. Obviously, the first one is high quality product content, image, titles, and descriptions, and that's simply because you're selling online and customers don't have that option to come into a store unless you do sell in the store, but they don't have that option to see the product. Few products and few sellers have samples because of the cost that's included with that. So samples aren't always a cost-effective option. So what it comes down to is essentially having the high-quality images that customers can look at and see what it might look like in a setting that matches whatever the product is, and also have an idea of what type of product is based on descriptions and titles that are descriptive but not overly descriptive, because they start to lose a bit of attention there, especially if they're just scrolling to find something. So there's really balance you have to make there, but that tends to be something that's required. This GS1 UPC barcodes is its own topic in a sense, but essentially nowadays it's something that a lot more retailers are requiring due to attempts to fight counterfeiting. So they require GS1 US UPC barcodes obtained from GS1, and to have that for your products when you sell online. Consistent inventory is important because the way that the algorithms work, they consider your in stock rate when they're listing your products on their websites, because rankings are important. It's one of the best ways to keep your visibility. So when customers search for a product, you show up. Because there's competition on the e-commerce sites, so having consistent inventory, having a budget for advertising and marketing. It doesn't have to be a huge amount. It's not really a game of the one that has the most money is the one who will have their products shown, uh, because as long as you can set up certain keywords that really reflect your product, the algorithms will take that into consideration as well. And even with the saturation, if someone is putting a large budget, there is always opportunities that come up in the way that the marketplaces work to still bring your product forward. So it's not really dumping a lot of money in, but choosing the most effective keywords and the most effective strategy to maximize your returns. And then last bit is having a company website with products offered. If you're an existing business, you might already have something like this set up. But if you're new and you're looking to set up, just having something simple, it doesn't have to be super fancy. You can use an existing template from any of the host providers. Like if you get a domain from GoDaddy, they give you an option to use their service to set up a website. They have Wix, you can set up a website. The purpose of this one is, the overall goal into the future is building a bit of a brand too, because as you try to spread your presence in e-commerce, it always helps not only to show your listings on the websites, but also show off your company website with the types of products you have, because some marketplaces will have buyers and they want to take a look at that, and that will help organize and present your brand in your ideal way. So when they see that, it has a bit of impact. So now when we come to the types of platforms in e-commerce, there are three types that kind of make up the entire e-commerce environment for products. So goods you sell. Self-hosted is your own website. You you have full control over the website. Everything is pretty much under your hand. You don't have like a buyer you speak to, an account manager. There's no separate support teams or a listing or competition. It's your own website. You set up your products. You are obviously going to be responsible for a lot more to help that site succeed and sell. So you're gonna have to put more effort into creating the SEO content, the advertising. When you list your products, you'll have full flexibility here. That's one of the advantages if you're selling a certain product that you really want to advertise certain aspects of. A lot of marketplaces have limits to how you can present products because they all use kind of a standardized template for their listings. But when self-hosted, you have control over that. So this way you can set it up how you want for your product, and then build up. This is a lot something that's common with people who already have existing businesses, especially if they're retailers looking to move into e-commerce, because they have the products, they have the information, they also have the customers too. A lot of times you're able to attract more customers with your existing customers to your website. So that is an option. One thing to note is that you're not limited to any one of these. You can definitely have a mix. A lot of people have a self-hosted website where people can purchase from their site, but at the same time they'll be selling on a marketplace. And a marketplace is basically a site like Amazon where you put up your product and then you list it and you use their systems to list your products, sell your products, obtain the payments. And then sometimes they have options where you can use their shipping accounts, or in cases of certain programs, they pay for the shipping. So the advantage you have here is that they give you a platform to sell to because they get all the customer traffic, and your job is to put the products in there and try to sell those products to those customers that are visiting their websites. And Amazon is pretty much sort of the kind of the gatekeeper in a way, because almost every online shopper tends to visit Amazon at some point of their shopping experience, whether they're starting on Amazon or whether they end up going back to Amazon if they couldn't find a deal elsewhere. So because of that, it's the most common one that people set up in. But you're obviously, like I said, not limited. You can have your products listed on multiple marketplaces, because each marketplace does have its own audience. So even if the price might be a bit higher for that customer on that website and they might get a better deal on Amazon, they might decide that they like the customer service, or they like the return policy, or there's always just something there that kind of attracts them. So each platform marketplace will kind of have its own flavor of customers, but in general they all operate under the same principle in that it's a marketplace, they have customers coming in, and you're just setting up shop there to sell your products. Supplier and vendor, I won't go into too much detail with this one because this is a bit the sort of beyond the foundation, but I'll just touch upon it because I have some slides here that kind of just touch on it, so you just have an idea of the environment, where you're basically operating as a business selling to another business, and the business you are selling it to is an e-commerce retailer. How that works is basically you become a vendor, you have products, you set them up on their platform that they have for vendors, and then they sell it themselves to those customers. So when the product on the marketplace, it'll show you as the seller, but as a vendor to the retailers, it'll show them as the seller and you as the brand owner. So sites like Home Depot, for example, everything will be sold as Home Depot, but your brand will show up there. But Home Depot considers the customers their customers, and you're merely just providing the products to Home Depot so they can sell to their customers. The advantage of this type of business is that you tend to sell in bulk, and you get favorable agreements in regards to shipping and customer service. But it's a bit harder to set up with because there's just more reviews going on, because there's a buyer and the buyer needs to review your product, review your price. They work on a wholesale model, and we'll go over the pricing in the next slide. But basically, this one has a bit more effort to get onboarded with, and it tends to be a bit of a challenge. But once you set up with it, you essentially become a supplier, and then you just drop ship to their customers. Now, common fee models, every marketplace has some sort of fee that you have to deal with, even the self-hosting ones. But the most common ones tend to be these three. So listing fees, sometimes called referral fees, especially on Amazon. It's a percentage of the sale price. So you list something for $100 and they take 15%. You're gonna get your payment of $85 and Amazon's gonna keep 15. So you sell it for 100, but you get 85 because Amazon has a listing fee that they charge. Not everywhere has it, and some have like subscription plans where if you use a certain subscription tier, they don't have listing fees, they have item fees. Item fees are similar, but they're not a percentage. They tend to just be a fixed amount. So they'll just charge you a straight fee, a straight rate for every unit you sell. So if you sell for $100 and you sell 10 units, they'll charge you $10. So it's a simpler version. They usually use this for people who sell in lower volumes, so they can prompt you to, comfortably use their platforms without having to pay any extra subscription fees, and that's how they recoup their payments. Now, account fees are what I mean by subscription fee. They're charged on a monthly basis. For the self-hosting websites, they tend to be tiers that have different features and then a bit modifications and transaction fees. Whereas on the sites like Amazon and eBay, they tend to offer extra features or extra abilities. So on Amazon, for example, if you have an individual account, you get charged item fee, and then there's a limit to how many items you can put. Whereas with the professional account, you don't have that item fee, and you don't have that limit, but you have that listing fee. The main difference between it when you're considering is just deciding on how much of an investment you're originally going to make, or if you're just looking to test out that marketplace, get a feel for it. You might go with the initial account, or an individual account, or the free account, any kind of plan like that, so you can just test it out. But when you start growing your business on e-commerce and you need to upgrade, that's when you take a look at what other account subscription options they have and scale up from there. So these three tend to make up. These aren't the only ones. They're different marketplaces at different fees, and these tend to change by category. So there's a lot of data for that, and we'll be going over those as we go over the marketplaces. So, like I mentioned, Amazon is the leading e-commerce website, significant customer traffic. They do B2C and they do actually do B2B as well. So people are able to set up a business account on Amazon and then shop for products. The main difference is that any seller that wants to sell B2B on their platform, you essentially get to put in it's the same as the B2C platform. The only difference is you have a section where you can put in bulk discounts. So you can say if a business account orders 5 pieces, give them this much of a discount. If they order 10, this much of a discount. So it's mostly on that basis. It doesn't differ too much. So it's simple to set up with. When you set up on Amazon, you can either be an individual or professional account. Like I said, they have different functions. So the individual account, fewer items. Professional account, if you're looking to set up full and you're comfortable with using it, you can set up with that. It charges a monthly fee for that. And then additional fees are tied to any kind of extra programs you participate in. So FBA is one of those programs, fulfillment by Amazon, which is essentially where you get to send your products in bulk to an Amazon fulfillment center, and then Amazon will ship any orders from those centers for those products. The benefit here is that these products all qualify for Prime, so they'll have that Prime tag. And if anyone filters by Prime for items, your item will stay there. And if you look at the listings, you'll see that it says shipped by your company or your brand, and no, sold by your company, your brand, and shipped by Amazon. That usually means that it's being sent from a fulfillment center, not from your own warehouse. So this one has some fees involved. You have to pay the shipping to get to the warehouses. They have storage fees if your items are in the warehouse for too long. So it's always good to keep track of how long your items are there. Usually anything getting close to 90 days will need to be pulled out, so you don't have too many storage fees. And you have to pay shipping on the way back. But the advantage is that you get to significantly increase the visibility of your product, because that prime tag has a pretty large impact on it. You could offer free shipping too, and that has its own separate tag, but the prime tag is a much more visible and advertised to more customers. This is a review. As you can see in this image, this is what a listing looks like. They don't all look like this. Some categories will just be a straight linear line, but most listings look similar to this. And you can see here that the top row, which are the first items here, all have Prime on them, and that means that they're either a supplier, or it means that they're offering the products as fulfilled by Amazon. Amazon has over the years emphasized more on advertising too. As you can see, that first item there is saying sponsored. Those are changes they've made. But like I said, it's not always the person who puts in the most money. It's if you have the proper strategy, you can always get a chance to advertise your product. And the main goal is always to improve the ranking, and rankings on Amazon especially benefit from reviews and sales and maintaining stock status. Now here's the Seller Central image. This is the main one that most people use for Marketplace. Um, I put in here in the presentation, there's a cost calculator. This gives you a brief idea of your profit margin. It'll let you put in like the information on the cost, so you can see before you even list the items what your fees are going to be, and how much you might have after the fees inside of that category. Beginner's guide will cover the basics of setting up on Amazon. And to note, Amazon requires GS1 UPC barcodes, as I mentioned. You are able to open the items using those non like GS1 ones, where you just purchase like a specific number of barcodes. But there's no guarantee on when Amazon's system will detect that it's not GS1 and suspend it until you fix it. So there is that risk, but there's no guarantee on when it'll detect it. And there are actually exemptions for certain types of products, and you can see those in their guide as well, where it will go over who is allowed to ask for an exemption. It tends to be like custom-made products, because obviously a custom-made product isn't something you standardly produce, so it's not something you can really barcode in the standard way. So those kind of products have exemptions, along with other requirement, other information on who gets exemptions. So you do have options there. Now here's FBA part. This FBA revenue calculator is a great tool. It's something that I always recommend to my clients as well, because essentially, if you know someone who's selling a product similar to what you're looking to sell, and you want to see how much it'll cost you in FBA and how much money you'll have based on the price you're looking to sell it for, you can get the product information and then put it into the calculator to search for it, and then you can Amazon will give you the estimate of how much that listing's FBA costs are. So it'll, because when you open an item in FBA, you have to give the shipping dimensions and the weight and the price for it, and then that will be used to calculate. So that if it's an item that exists, Amazon will pull that data from its own database, and then you can essentially see how much it costs someone to send and sell a product from FBA that's similar to what you're looking to sell before you even start doing FBA. And then you can even put in your own prices to check, how much of a margin you'll have, and after the fees and after the shipping. So it's a really great tool, because you basically get to test out and get a guesstimate of how much it's going to cost you and how much money you're going to have on hand before ever even needing to actually open those items. And all you need to do is find someone selling something similar. If there is nothing similar, you can still use the tool. You just have to put your own data inside. So you have to put the shipping dimensions and the weights in yourself. But essentially, in any case, it'll let you know how much FBA will cost you. As I mentioned, FBA send bulk to their warehouse, and Amazon ships to the customers. And then they also offer the prime delivery, and then every now and then, usually towards the end of the year too, they will offer an option to they have special campaigns, I would say, where if you have items there that aren't selling that much and you want to bring it back, but you're worried about how much it'll cost to return it to you, they have times where they'll let you bring those items back, either at a discounted rate or even for free, depending on what that campaign is. So it's not a static thing. Like every they will monthly, you will get updates on different options it has, and that allows you to take advantage of that for just a bit of a slight gain. So it's something that's constantly being worked on, and you will be updated about it. So it'll let you boost the visibility of your products on Amazon. Now we get to the fees. The screenshot doesn't cover everything, but it kind of covers how the process works. Essentially, you will have two seller account tiers, and you have the professional selling plan, 40 a month, and then you have no subscription fee on the individual. But in the individual, you pay per item sold, whereas the professional seller, no item per item fee. It is just a referral fee here. Um, so you don't get that extra charge there. Referral fees are set there, but Amazon does also set a minimum in case your item goes below that amount. So they do have a set price that's the minimum cap, and then they have a referral fee percentage based on the categories. These are a couple of categories. You can see here that the average for some is 8%, the average for the others 15%. This is essentially just taken off the listing price. And I have the link here below that has the entire fee schedule, so you can actually check and see, what category and how much they charge the referral fee for that category as well, and it'll give you an idea. And it also has the other extra fees in there, because some categories like media has another fee, and they also have fees when it comes to refunds. They charge a small transaction fee when you refund any customer. Now, the vendor central part is the supplier one, so I'll only quickly go through this one. It's invite only B2B, where you become a supplier to Amazon. It requires either a high revenue or consistent growth, sales growth on the platform to be considered for invitation. And it has a couple of different options that you can benefit from. The standard ones are in-network fulfillment, where you ship bulk to a Amazon warehouse, and basically Amazon buys bulk from you, wholesale. And then direct fulfillment is Amazon sends you customer orders and you drop ship to their customers. It's shipped and sold by Amazon. It'll have your brand on it, and Amazon takes care of the customer service and everything else. You're just responsible for shipping whatever order they send you and maintaining the inventory availability so they can know what to offer the customers. And then higher level business there is direct import, where they buy container loads directly from you. And then private label into the private label programs, the most common one being Amazon Basics, which is broad for Amazon's different line of products. That's something you get invited to as well if it's a category they're looking at and you're selling in that category, and they believe that you would be an applicable person to invite onto it. And then they also let you have access to other beta programs that they test out. They tend to run things through Vendor Central first, because it's a smaller number of vendors and there's more flexibility there. And then if they like what they see with some of it, they might make versions that show up on the Seller Central side. So you get first access to any new programs that they run. Now, eBay, also highly popular e-commerce website, but it would be, I would say that it's different quite a bit in theme from Amazon, and that's probably something that a lot of sellers notice as well. The biggest one obviously being auctions, and the second biggest being that you can sell more than just products on eBay. You can sell real estate, vehicles, and other types of goods that you won't actually find on Amazon at all. So another reason that eBay is popular is because it's easier to create listings and set up product offers. Amazon's process is simple too, but eBay is a lot more streamlined when you're setting up on there. They don't require too much detail, and it's pretty simple to immediately start listing products on there and getting started with selling. But in return for that, the way that eBay works is that they have a different type of selling fee structure. So they tend to have a sort of base selling fee amount, and we'll look at that in the next slide. But their structure is different from Amazon's. So in this slide here, you can see the eBay homepage. people are able to search products. Used products are quite popular here too, and I would say, based on my experience, selling and buying used products is a bit easier on eBay than it is on Amazon, simply because Amazon prefers to push the new items on a listing, whereas eBay will split the listing. So a used version will be its own listing, but Amazon says any product that's the same has to be in one listing, and in that one listing, the buy box, which is the first item you see that you can add to cart, that one is always going to be the new item. And then for the used ones, you have to click on a few extra places to actually get to them. So eBay is pretty big on for people selling used products too. And eBay offers its own version of seller protections when you become a seller. So that's something that a lot of sellers like to have set up as well. So when it comes to fees, you don't really need a monthly subscription, though a monthly subscription does allow you to improve the amount of business you do on eBay. As you can see in this screenshot here, insertion fee is the amount they charge for setting up the item to sell. And then the final value fee is what the listing fee is, or the referral fee is. And that one is what they charge on the sell price. You can see here different categories. Some don't even have insertion fees; they just have final value fees. So when it comes to eBay, it helps to kind of take a look at their fee schedule, because when it comes to them, they're very they don't have a standard. It differs based on the category, and the rules tend to differ too. When it comes to subscription, eBay, you get an eBay store. It's a central location on eBay where you can sell your products. On Amazon, they have something similar called the brand store. Um, so that's something similar to what eBay has, in that basically it's on their platform, but it's your brand site, and you put your brand products on there, and customers who visit can shop all your products. It'll only have your products on there. And then obviously, since I mentioned eBay sells vehicles, and if you happen to be planning to sell vehicles on eBay, I put here the eBay vehicle selling fees. Um, they have different packages, and these packages also are something that exists for regular eBay as well, where you get to add extra stuff to your listing. So let's say you want to add bold text, or you want to add subtitles, or you want to add more images than the regular amount given. You pay extra for that, but you get the opportunity to add more content and improve the appearance of your listing. So eBay has those kind of projects as well. So essentially, eBay has some of that flexibility based on how you want to present your listings. Now, Walmart has a marketplace as well, and a supplier level. So they've been very aggressively expanding their e-commerce capabilities, and they basically do now have a version of Prime. You can even see here in the screenshot where it says next day delivery, and they also have 2-day delivery. So they've considerably improved on that, and a lot of sellers have been setting up on them as well. There are no monthly fees when you set up on Walmart Marketplace. There is a slight of a process where you need to submit an application, obtain approval. For the marketplace one, it's a bit simpler. They basically just check to see that you are a legitimate seller, and that you have a product that is worth listing on their website. So it's not really complicated. It doesn't take too long. As long as you have something that sells, they'll approve you without too much hesitation. They have a lot of categories to sell in, on the website, so that's you're not worried about losing out on certain categories. So this is their marketplace, how it appears. It's a very simple interface. It's not like Amazon's Seller Central dashboard. It's a lot more streamlined. Obviously, Amazon does have more features, but Walmart continues to make improvements going forward. But these are kind of the basic utilities you need to list the products, sell the products, and keep track of the products and the orders. You create listings, you provide the content, you arrange the shipping. They only charge a referral fee based on category, and you can check that out on the fees. And their marketplace is basically Walmart Seller Central version. So you're selling as yourself to customers shopping on Walmart. So you put in the price that you want to give to the customers, to charge customers, and then you keep track of your inventory from this platform as well. Here's a brief look at the fees. These referral fees on the categories, and as they add new categories, they'll add them onto this fee schedule. You can see here that they also have a similar standard: 8%, 15%, 20%. One thing to note about referral fees is that there is always opportunities for the referral fees to drop, and you will be notified by the marketplace. It'll be a temporary drop usually because they're trying to promote that category. So you'll be notified about that. Those usually apply automatically, so you don't have to do anything. But it's like I said, even though they set this, you do have opportunities that come up where they will make adjustments as necessary on their end if they want to promote more business there. I also put in the Walmart FAQ. The reason for this is that because Walmart has a few details that need to be considered when you want to set up with them. It's not super detailed, but they're not like Amazon, so you just need to check the fees. But overall, like I said, pretty straightforward. And an advantage is that now Walmart also has a fulfillment service, so it's similar to Amazon's FBA, where they provide the shipping service to the customers to place an order and to promise them 2-day shipping. So that is now an option available to anyone who wants to set up. You are able to set up on both if that is a strategy that works for you and you want to increase your presence online. That's never an issue, because usually when you're first starting, it always helps to have a presence on as many marketplaces that make sense. And because Walmart and Amazon are quite competitive, and customers fluctuate between the two, it never hurts to have your products available there and available there, and then pricing them according to whatever the marketplace allows you to competitively do. So don't shoot yourself in the foot when setting it up, but know that you can set up on both places and get sales from both places. That is an opportunity, and it's worth setting up for, especially since Walmart doesn't charge a monthly fee, and it only charges referral fees for the items you add. Now the DSV is their supplier level one. It looks similar, but it operates differently. For this one, you have to offer a price and a cost. The price is the MSRP, and the cost is the wholesale that Walmart pays for whenever the item sells. It also includes terms and agreements that depends on negotiations with the buyers. Every category has its own requirements and terms, and depending on the negotiations you make with the buyers, that can also determine if there's any cooperative agreements. So co-ops tend to be where you pay a certain percentage so they can do advertising on your behalf to Google and the rest of the internet. In DSV, Walmart pays for the shipping themselves and handles customer service like Amazon's Vendor Central. All you do is make sure you list the products and sell the products. And like any supplier vendor relationship, there is usually a buyer, an account manager, or some kind of contact who you stay in touch with to discuss any issues you have, how to grow your business, if they have any new ideas, if they want any new designs that you can offer. Basically like a traditional business relationship. Now Etsy is interesting because its primary focus is on custom-made products, or those kind of unique homemade products, or anything that's gift products. That's popular there too. So they have vintage, custom, handmade, craft supplies. Their fees are different as well because of that, but it covers a lot more than what the other marketplaces cover. So that's why they have those many fees on there. You do have an option for a paid monthly account that adds extra features. But if we jump right into the fees here, this one I have here is just the listing fees and screenshot, but you can actually see that link to see all the details. They charge listing fees, transaction fees, and also other fees with the entire purpose of paying for the advertising and also paying for your listing when you set it up. So if you're going to be setting up any kind of products that are custom made, homemade, or gift, I recommend looking through here, making sure you get an idea of the type of fees you will be charged. So when you set up your item, you can make sure that you're not selling at a loss or lower than expected, because Etsy does have quite a list of fees, with the purpose of making those fees benefit your listing. So the way they describe it is to help increase the customers that are visiting their site and help advertise your products. So it's worth taking a look here, because they have various different levels of fees that are charged when you list your products on here. Wayfair is an interesting one, because you can apply to them sort of like you're applying to a marketplace, but technically you're setting up as a vendor with them. Uh, they're specialized in specific categories of products, home goods, furniture, anything of those sort, lighting, bedding, living room, bedroom, those kind of products that fit into those areas. So if you have anything in that field, you can apply to become a Wayfair seller. And then if you get approved as a seller, their process is pretty simple, where you give them a wholesale cost, and they sell, and then when it gets sold, they set the price that they want to sell for, and then they keep the difference between the cost and the price they make from the customer. There are no fees because of the model that's set up, and they provide the shipping as well. So you might say that this is a supplier style relationship, and on the business end it is. But the reason I said that they're a bit of a hybrid is because on marketplaces you get some of that ease with adding products and selling them, and when it comes to Wayfair, you do have some of that ease. You can They do give you a bit more of like a marketplace style control, where you add the products. Their system is just set up to work on the wholesale model, so you get sort of the best of both worlds within a specific category of products, and you also get a account contact person who will help you out with any issues. So if you do have products in these categories, I would recommend giving them a try. It is worth an option with that, because you just apply, and if they approve, you're pretty much good to go. And it never, like I said, never hurts to have diversity in your marketplaces, because every marketplace will advertise. They advertise for themselves, but they will use your products to advertise on sites, and that basically means the more sites you're on, the more chance you have of getting visibilities and getting sale. Overstock is similar logic, though they also offer more categories, simply because Overstock's logic is offering closeout discount sort of products. They're focused on promotions. So customers looking for a deal will visit their site. And when you set up products here, you set it up on the basis that you're offering a product that you can make a deal on, with a promotion or a discount. Similar to Wayfair, where you apply, and if you get approved, you get a partner who walks you through the setup process, and that partner contact will be there to help you through through the process. Like I said, with Wayfair, it's set up in the supplier vendor relationship style, so you don't need to worry about extra fees. There might be terms for advertising your products, which we discuss with a partner, but it's pretty streamlined in how they charge the fees if you want to set up here as well. Now, Home Depot does e-commerce, but they're pretty much exclusively supplier vendor. Um, Whenever they have a seller on their website, they go through quite a vetting process to make sure you are a supplier that they want on their website, and you are selling something that they want on their website. Obviously, Home Depot's categories are home improvement, home decor, building materials, and other such categories. The way that they work is also you apply, but they do have a bit more of a detailed process in the application period, and they will get back to you usually with extra documentation requests to become a supplier. So this one kind of sticks at the supplier vendor level. It's not a hybrid either. It's full on business to business. You become a supplier for Home Depot, and that's how they operate their e-commerce right now. I don't believe they have plans for any marketplace, though I have heard of discussions on that. But at the moment, they don't have anything like that set up. It's exclusively supplier, and the reasoning they give is because they want to, provide customers the guarantee of their brand. and as a result, they want to vet all their suppliers to make sure that you're someone that they would want you to have selling on their website, and that you also bring in a product that helps boost traffic and sales on their website. House is a bit of an interesting one because you can offer products and professional services, and the way you make offers isn't just limited to using their website, but you can actually set up in a way where if you're self-hosting, you can have the products or services uh, on House and then connected to your self-hosted website. So House shoppers or House people looking for services on House are able to click on it and then go from that House site to yours. And the advantage is that you're essentially using House to advertise your own website and to sell your own products. Um, like I said, that's one of the options, but you can also list directly on their website. So they're a bit interesting. It's home products, interior products, furniture, decor, but there is an application process as well, but it's simple. It's not too complex. They'll just verify your account that you're a business, make sure you're in the right category, and then after that, you're free to start setting up the connections you want, whether you want to put it on their website or whether you want to set it up so when people shop for the products and you have a self-hosted website, you'll have the self-hosted website connected, and people will actually be doing the final transactions from your site. Now we come to self-hosting. So for self-hosting, like I said, everything is under your control. Um, these websites that I'm going to go over for self-hosting are exclusively focused on e-commerce. So that's why we're bringing these up. You don't really need to use these. You can if you, it's a more technically complex, but anyone can set up a WordPress website and host it on a host and then set it up to handle transactions. That does take some effort, but that's like maximum customization. That's if you really want full 100% control. Because sites like Shopify is about 75%, because the other 25% is you still need to use their infrastructure. But if you do full self-hosting without using any of these sites, you get 100%, but you usually need to either know how to web develop or hire a web developer to do all that work. So if you want to simplify that, Shopify offers that option. It's a self-hosted e-commerce website you can set up on their platform. The Shopify will give you free templates depending on the type of products you sell. You can actually see what kind of templates they have. And then there'll be a variety of plugins you can use on their websites, on your website set up on their platform. Some are free, some are paid. The paid ones are usually some kind of subscription fee if you're adding on some kind of feature that you want on your website to have that Shopify doesn't have by default. So you can always add some of that customization, but there can be a fee involved outside of Shopify because you have to pay that apps developer for those services. But Shopify itself charges you a monthly fee, and then they charge you a transaction fee, which is normal when it comes to credit card transactions. The next slide will actually kind of touch on those. So you see here, Shopify has 3 plans for the monthly plans. They have different features. The screenshot just shows the top part here, but if you go to the Shopify plans link, you can actually see the full details. You can see that there's some differences here. Most people will benefit from the basic one. It's a place to start, and it doesn't cost a lot. And then once you kind of start adding products, start seeing sales, you're always able to scale up to the next level. And then if you're really going full force self-hosting, then they have that higher level one that has a whole list of features. But the first one is functional, and a lot of people are able to make that work for selling online. When it comes to the transaction fees, each tier will have a few cents less charged per transaction, though the percentage won't fluctuate a lot. And you can see that on the Shopify plan. But you are able to discuss potentially using different service providers. Shopify doesn't necessarily force you to use their transaction, but obviously that's something you need to seek out and negotiate. But to simplify it for most people, they straight through offer that transaction, so you don't need to worry about setting up any kind of transactions point of sale system. They'll give you theirs, and then you just pay the transaction fees for that. But you are able to request integrating any other POS if you already have some kind of deal set up for that. And like I said, this doesn't include, since it's not a Shopify aspect, any fees charged for any of those plugins are unique to those plugins and not listed here, because the person providing those plugins or the owner of those plugins are the ones setting those fees, because they offer some kind of extra service to their system that you are using for your website. Now, WooCommerce, I've linked theirs as well. They're similar to Shopify in for self-hosting. These self-hosting websites, they don't differ too much in fundamentals. It's basically you start open an account, you pay a monthly fee, and then they give you templates you can use, and then you start putting your products. There's transaction fees, there's plugins. The only differences they tend to have are in features. And then in the case of WooCommerce, there's more flexibility in their pricing. So you have more options based on the kind of business you're doing. As you can see on the Shopify one, there was only 3 tiers. WooCommerce will have more flexibility in that they'll have tiers, and then they'll have like options where you can upgrade. So that's when, if you want to self-host, it's worth checking out the options you have there. The fundamentals, like I said, don't change. So you're mostly just going to be looking out for what kind of fees you'll be charged and what your plans are with your self-hosting website. If you're not looking to make your self-hosting website the primary e-commerce business, then you can look at pricing based on that. Whereas if you're looking to make it your primary, then obviously you're going to be looking to make a greater investment into the future, which means you will be looking at what the top tier will offer if you grow business on there and want to upgrade to the highest level. And then BigCommerce is more similar to Shopify than WooCommerce. It has similar plans, although the features under those plans differ. So they kind of match alongside of how Shopify charges for the tiers, but they do offer different features under that. They might add some features, or they might not have some features under the plans. The biggest difference when it comes to BigCommerce versus Shopify is that scaling up can incur a bit more costs. So that's always worth checking out too. But if you believe the features on BigCommerce when you're scaling up are good for you, then that is something you can continue with. So there'll be a link here to their pricing as well and their website with the features. Now, there are a lot more marketplaces I didn't go over, but I want to touch upon. Because these are category specific. Now, Newegg is, if you've ever shopped for computers or computer parts, you'll know them as a site for electronics and computers and products like those. You are able to apply to become a seller on that website, so you can sell products if you have anything like that, or if you have distribution rights for any of these branded electronic products, you can set up with them as well as to sell e-commerce with those products. Zulily is clothing home products. They're slightly similar to Wayfair, but their business model is different in that they don't have like a traditional listings. But what happens is that they run different types of events and sales campaigns, and you put your product for those events they run, and your product only sells during that period. And then after that period's over, if there's no other upcoming period that has your product for it, then you just wait until that one comes up. So they kind of do it on an event or sales campaign basis, and you provide your product to cost and a discount, and that's how they run it. Tractor Supply is home improvement, but also agriculture and livestock related products. So if you're selling in any of those categories, Tractor Supply Company is a place you can set up for selling online e-commerce with. Kroger is produce, groceries, food stuff. You can set up with them if you're selling any kind of those products. Chewy is pet food and pet supplies. So if you have pet supply or pet food products, you're able to apply, set up on those. Now the last two are a bit different from the ones above. Both are general goods. You might know AliExpress, or if you know Alibaba, the AliExpress is their marketplace site. These are international platforms. So you can set up products on AliExpress similar to how Amazon works, but there can be buyers from anywhere. So there's that international aspect. So the setup is a bit different because you need to take into consideration if anyone internationally purchases the product, you'll need to make sure the shipping costs are updated accordingly. And then Rakuten is the Japanese e-commerce website, but they also have a setup similar to. So they kind of run affiliate sales as well. So they'll run events with products and then try to sell those products during the event, similar in logic to the Zulily one. But they are general goods, so it is like a regular e-commerce website where a whole variety of products can be added. You do need to apply to become a seller, but once you do apply, you can pretty much sell in any category. There's no unique niche to them. Um, so these are different websites and these are different e-commerce platforms you can set up with if you have any niche products. There are probably a lot more websites out there depending on the category of product. So always take a look, see what's out there, and then if the category works also inside of any of these traditional big e-commerce sites like Amazon or eBay, never hurts to set up there. And if you set up a self-hosting website just for, if you're going to set up a company website and it's not going to cost too much to add that, um, if you're not worried about adding that a little extra cost to have that functionality there for selling on your self-hosting website, e-commerce site, it's always an option to set up because it gives you the most flexibility. You can advertise whenever you want. You can word of mouth if you have a store. You can advertise it there. So it doesn't really hurt to have a self-hosting website, and it always helps to diversify across categories. Having that ability is obviously a plus. Now we're gonna get to the Q&A, so let me pull that up. Oops. 1 second. Okay, so I'm gonna look at the Q&A first, and then we'll look at the chat afterwards. All right, so first question here, drop shipping. Now the question is, I'm going to answer, to clarify here, there's actually kind of two interpretations of drop shipping. First one is what I mean by drop shipping is as the basic business entity, is that you have a, you're the shipper of a product for another party. So drop shipping is that if Amazon is that party, customers buy the product from Amazon, but it's your product, so you drop ship for Amazon to that customer. So you're the drop shipper because Amazon gives you the order for their customer and you ship that product to that customer. That's the business model of drop shipping. You're essentially shipping a product for a business whose customer purchased that product from that business, but you're the actual product owner. Now, the second type of drop shipping I mentioned is a different utilization of drop shipping. It's that people who don't have the product, what they do is they set up themselves as the business, and then customers purchase that product from them, and then they place that order from the actual product owner, and then they have it shipped to the customer. That aspect of drop shipping is a bit difficult. It's not really, at least from my end, in my opinion, it's not something I recommend as a long-term business enterprise because at the end of the day, you don't actually own the product. So you're at the mercy of whoever's product you're drop shipping. And some marketplaces actually have rules against that because they want the businesses to be able to certify that that product is what it is. So when it comes to the traditional form where Amazon is the business and your company is the product owner that ships it to Amazon's customer, that will allow, there's no issue there because Amazon is the main business, and they know their marketplace, and you're the product owner, so you know your product, and the customer is expecting to get what they're expecting to get. The second part, it's a bit riskier. It works in the short term, but like I said, there's no guarantee on that one. So that's how the drop shipping works, and I also want to clarify that there's actually two different in drop shipping interpretations, because people have found that loophole basically inside where they work as a middleman, so that kind of they kind of created their own type of drop shipping as well. There's a question here from Laura about the presentation. I believe Priscilla will be sharing the presentation with everyone who attended, so there's no issues with that. Then you guys will be able to access the links for it. For the chat questions, let's start from the top. What is the most cost-effective of the three types of platforms? So of the platforms, realistically, vendor is cost effective, but vendor requires considerable investment to achieve if you're not an existing business. So if you're an existing business, you have a storefront, you have space for warehousing, you can load up the delivery vehicles. It is something worth pursuing. If not, you can set up self-hosting. Is the cheapest to get started with, but self-hosting doesn't work for all categories because you need to advertise your products. So realistic, I would say if you're beginning e-commerce and you're looking for cost effectiveness, you become a marketplace and just make sure that you know what the fees are going to be. Especially if you're going to do Amazon, for example, you can use those cost calculators I put in. Just make sure you understand how much you are actually going to be charged in fees to make sure that whatever you are selling, you are making a profit. You don't need to worry too much if there's like the fees that are be charged in there, because there's so many, like millions of people visit sites like Amazon and eBay. So as long as you can get products selling on there, and you will have the services and utilities of those marketplaces to maintain that momentum. So I would say, at least for people who are starting off, marketplace will generally be a nice starting point. It'll be cost effective, and as your business grows and the cost effectiveness starts sliding a bit, if that becomes an issue, you'll at least have the performance on hand to make the leap into the performance and the funds to try making a leap into more supplier level business relationships. You don't need to go for the higher end one. Like I said, Amazon is difficult to get into. It's invite only. Home Depot is a bit strict on who they let in. But sites like WAYFAIR, for example, Overstock, those aren't the only ones, but those are some of the ideas there. They're a little more flexible on who they allow, and they set up a wholesale model, so the pricing is simpler, and they give you the advantages of covering the shipping costs. So once you've gotten the domain, once you've got an understanding and a setup of e-commerce going, and you got some of the funds going, you can always make that leap to supplier by just finding out which platform fits your category of products and whether they are willing to accept you on. There's no costs to apply to these sites, so if you can prove that you have a selling product, they won't really make a big issue out of it. Let's see. Okay, so for Alicia's statement here, so yes, you make lotions and hair conditioners and you want to sell on Etsy, but you're worried about the fees. What I would say here is that depending on how much you're selling your lotion, or what kind of volumes you're selling in, Etsy might still be applicable to the product you're selling. I would first, at least before writing them off, give it a try and just try to get an idea of how much the fees will actually cost you when you set up with them. Like I said, you don't need a monthly selling fee with them, monthly subscription. The monthly subscription just adds extra features. So you can always set up an account and make a test run just to see what it'll cost you. And also the test run will determine how much of a hook you have with the product on the site. So you can actually see how much it will cost you, and then do your calculations off of the actual fees that you're seeing there. And then this way you'll know for sure if it will or will not work for you. You can even kind of test raising the price a bit if necessary and seeing what room you have there. If you don't already have a price point set from previous tests. If you sold it somewhere else and you have a general idea, obviously at that point, then you'll be using that price. So it's worth a test. I know that Etsy's fees can be a bit off-putting for a lot of people because they kind of make a whole list of it. But if it's a marketplace that will let you sell your product and you can see that you'll have a profit margin, it's worth keeping because they do have fees, but they're kind of fixed, so you don't need to worry about too many other things getting in the way. And like I said, one of the things that they state that they do for their sellers is that they add that additional advertising through the fees they charge you. Um, so test your products on there, just see what kind of fees you're seeing, what kind of momentum you're seeing. If that doesn't necessarily look good, the other options you have is self-hosting will be challenging because shipping costs are on you, or if you can partner with a shipping provider, like they have these locations that will do shipping and they use their own rates, which are cheaper than what you would normally be charged for. You can check that out and find that out and see if that's set up. Otherwise, you might have to test out some of the marketplaces outside of Etsy. So eBay was worth a test. For Amazon, I did slightly miss a section there because it's something that Amazon's still developing out. So I can't fully comment on it in detail, but Amazon is developing, or if you might have even noticed, if at some point you landed on there when you're looking for homemade, a competition to Etsy. Um, that is something that they are setting up for like Amazon Homemade. So that might actually be something worth testing out too. Uh, like I said, it's something Amazon's growing out, so they are running experiments on it to see if it how they can get it set up and whether it's something that's it's going to stick around. But if you look up Amazon Handmade, they have that category for products that are similar to what people sell on Etsy, and it is worth considering that as an option as well. Just if Etsy doesn't work out for you. Next question: writing descriptions. Uh, well, when it comes to suggestions for paying somebody, what I will say for that is, based on my experience, is you want to obviously make sure that they can give you proof of other content that they've written for other people. Um, if you use any of these sites that you can hire people's services for content, like Upwork, for example, um, you can try to find people who are offering the content writing, and then they'll ask you some questions about the product and prepare the content. But using that, you just always make sure that it's if you're gonna even if it's not on Upwork, if it's like somebody just make sure that they can provide you proof of somehow that they can prepare content, some kind of sample or a listing, even if they're familiar. Obviously, if they're familiar with online marketplaces, that's even better because that means they know what those marketplaces are generally looking for. Um, so that's an option there. Uh, when it comes to marketplaces, you say handmade handbags. Feel free to ask the marketplace too, if you have a contact there. Some people don't ask certain questions to the marketplaces because they think they won't really get much of an answer. And it might be true in some cases. You might not really get a useful answer. But if you are a seller on their marketplace, and I mean marketplace too, not even a supplier, um, always feel free to ask them, how you can improve your products. Like, how can I improve my sales? How can I improve my content? How can I improve my images? Feel free to ask them because they do have information on that and they can actually share that with you. Even if it's not written in their help sections, their support teams will likely have some kind of response that helps sellers out. So never hesitate to ask that marketplace questions on how you can improve your products, your content, your sales even, because you never know, they might actually have a response that will help you out. So it's always worth checking out and finding out and seeing what kind of responses they can give you. So I would say if you can't find someone for that, you can ask the marketplace. And worst case scenario, um, uh, you can try to I wouldn't say copy because obviously you don't want to run copyright issues, but see what other people are writing, understand how they're listing it. So, or is their first bullet point the material? Is their second bullet point the features? Is their what does their description cover? Does it cover the feel and the lifestyle of the product, or does it cover the technical details? Take a look at what people are writing, and then um, take your product and then match the logic. So if the first bullet point is material, second bullet point is the weight, the third bullet point is the where you can use it or the color, um, make something similar, and at least you'll have a place to start from. And then you can look to develop out your content further because you're not always going to have the perfect content. Your first goal when you're doing e-commerce is to get your product listed, make sure that you have accurate information, and then start selling. And then you can always develop your content as you move forward, as long as you can make sure your content isn't wrong, misleading, or omitting anything. Those three are big no-nos. You don't want to run into those situations because any negative review will hurt your momentum. So just make sure everything is accurate, even if it's not perfect. As long as the customer gets an idea of what it is, and you're not saying anything that it isn't, or you're not misleading anywhere, it'll be fine as a start, and then you'll just improve as you move forward. Okay, there's a question and answer. All right, Amazon seller. It's not necessarily hard to create a new item per se, though they do have requirements you have to fill out there. Um, I recommend. I know that there's a lot of tabs with a lot of information. I recommend filling out if you're new to adding the products onto Amazon, the starred sections. What do you mean by ASIN number is actually a number that's Amazon assigns to products. So from your question here, how to get your own ASIN number, the ASIN number is whenever you create an item on Amazon, Amazon assigns an ASIN number to that product, and that will be that product's Amazon stock identification number, which is the ASIN. SKU you created, but if you are selling something that exists already on Amazon, so let's say I don't know, let's say Samsung phone or an Apple phone, and you have it and you're selling it, and I'm going to assume that you're an authorized distributor because there are some issues if you're not. But in this case, hypothetically, if you're selling an Amazon phone or Samsung phone or Apple phone, and that item will likely exist on Amazon with an ASIN and a SKU, you will need to use that ASIN and SKU because it's an already existing item and you're just another seller of that item. So then in that case, how you would get the ASIN or the SKU is you would have to go to that product's listing, open that product. If you scroll down to the product details section, you will see where it says ASIN, and it generally should write SKU, or it might say model number. You can get that existing information from there. So if it's a product that's existing and you're just going to be another seller of it, you can go to that listing, go down to product details, and you will see where the ASIN is, and you will also see what the model and the SKU number is. It should generally write it there. That's for an existing item. If it's a new item, you are not going to have an ASIN number. Amazon's going to assign it for you, and the SKU is something you have to create. And if you don't create it, they will automatically make one for you, but I really don't recommend that because the one they create automatically is it's just random numbers and letters. It usually helps to make sure when you create a SKU, it's descriptive. So when you see that SKU, you know what the product is. So I recommend creating something. So if it's like the Samsung phone, for example, and let's say it's a 10, so you would do SMG 10 dash, and if it's black, you'll do BLK, or you'll do B, or any kind of coding you have. It's distinct to you. There is no fixed requirement that the SKU has to be something, unless it's an existing item that already has a SKU. Then you have to use the correct SKU. If you try to make a new listing with that item, Amazon will generally eventually detect that what you're selling in a new listing is an existing item, and then they will either close that listing or they will merge it into the existing one. They'll generally merge it the first few times, but if you keep doing it, they'll decide to flag your account and then just start closing those listings because they'll assume you're trying to loophole. Whereas in the first few times, it's just an assumption that you're getting used to using Amazon. So simply put, if it's an existing item, go to the listing on Amazon and you'll find the ASIN and the SKU in the product details section below. If it's a new item, you won't have an ASIN number. You'll have to put in a SKU and a UPC. And then when you create the item on Amazon, they will give you an ASIN number as soon as the item is created, and you'll see that in your catalog. Okay. From Peter, will the recording be available? I think that's a question for Priscilla, but I do believe the recordings are available for these seminar presentations. All right. I hope I didn't miss anybody here. Oh, one message. Right, so yeah, if there's no any question, if there's no any other questions or comments or anything, I will kind of conclude my presentation here by saying that oh, here's another one. You to have their website page instead of so it depends on what you mean by other websites advertising. If we're talking about the advertising that runs on like Amazon and eBay and Home Depot and etc. and your products are listed on there, if you try to advertise your products as well on a self-host while having your product on there, you might run into a situation where you might end up competing for keywords with those websites. So there is a risk there. What I usually recommend is if you are selling on those platforms tend to have advertising functionalities. So Amazon has Amazon advertising, where you can basically do pay-per-click advertising. I would recommend using that instead, and you'll be able to see the data for your products on there. But if you are self-hosting, making sure your SEO is good is important. Make sure your website and everything is set up nicely. And then Google Ads is pretty good for getting traffic. That's that marketing aspect is a bit outside my scope, but my experience has been that once you have your website set up nicely and you set up your Google Ads, you can actually get a good bit of traffic going because the other websites might be focusing on other products too. So that is an opportunity you have there. But like I said, if you start selling more products on the marketplaces, I would recommend deciding whether you want the marketplace to advertise or whether you want your self-host website, because you don't want to compete, because you'll end up charging yourself extra money competing against your own products advertising. So that's something you want to avoid as wasteful spending. So once you've decided which one's your priority, take advantage of that one. So if it's other websites you're selling on is your priority, that one you set up with. If it's your own website that's your priority, then Google Ads will help boost traffic to your website with the right setup and the right keywords. Okay. I don't see any other questions.
That's about it. Request for questions.
Actually, Carol, GS1 will give you the number for your prefix that you purchase, but what they mean by a SKU number in Amazon sense is stock counting number or stock counting unit. Basically, it's just whatever model number or identifier you use to identify your product. But yes, you do have options to obtain SKUs from elsewhere if you want to have a more standardized record. That is an option too.
Any other questions before we wrap up? Okay, don't see any other questions. Peter, will the recording be available on the SBDC website? The recording will be sent out. Today's Tuesday. Hopefully you'll get it tomorrow. If not, you will get it Thursday morning. It does take some time for me to edit, but everyone will be emailed a copy to the video and a copy of the slide presentation. On the screen is our contact information. I see a lot of you had questions. Feel free to take advantage of our business one-on-one consulting. Ahmed is now officially a part of our team here at the NJSBDC at Rutgers-Newark. So if you want to schedule a one-on-one with him to go over getting you started in e-commerce, or if you're currently in e-commerce and you need someone to assess and assist you, please feel free to visit our website at www.rnsbdc.com. Complete the request for counseling. I think there should be an option there for e-commerce. If not, it does ask you if you need specific assistance, and you can type that in that section. We will assign you for consultation. If you're outside of Essex County, there are cases where we do, since you attended this webinar, we may be able to allow you to have a session with us, but we mostly cater to Essex County. If you're outside of Essex County, we can refer you to your local SBDC who will have someone similar to Ahmed in that area to assist you. So if there's no further questions, I'm just going to survey one last time to make sure I'm not missing anyone. You're welcome, Laura and Tara. All right, great. So again, please pay attention to the emails that are coming out. Ahmed is doing another webinar. These webinars are being repeated, but we also are recording them. So if you missed the last two that he did, I will include those links in the email that you can follow up and watch at your own leisure. Okay. So I would like to say thank you, Ahmed, for yet another great webinar that was packed with information. We look forward to the next one. And for everyone else, I say have a good afternoon. Thank you for attending. See you soon.
Thank you everyone for attending. You all have a good day.